You may remember upon his arrival in Kansas City, one of the very first interviews that he did, DeAndre Hopkins talked about how long it had been since he had played meaningful football, meaning football that was kind of contributing towards a possible Super Bowl victory. The Super Bowl, of course, being the pinnacle of the NFL, the pinnacle of what it means to be a football player, the pinnacle of what it means to be a football fan. The Super Bowl is the hallmark of American sports, and every player wishes to play in a Super Bowl, to win a Super Bowl, and maybe to be a Super Bowl MVP. But if history has anything to say about it, no matter who plays how in the Super Bowl, if the Chiefs are there, it will be Patrick Mahomes winning that award. But we will see if DeAndre Hopkins ends up choosing business over money. Sounds like a bit of a misstatement. Business over money sounds silly to the ear, but business, the business of legacy. Look, anybody who was on these last two Super Bowl teams for the Kansas City Chiefs will be able to show up at sports cards events and sign autographs for money for the rest of their lives. For the rest of their lives. Business over money, legacy over money. The Kansas City Chiefs, this team seems to me to be locked and loaded, seems to be business first, seems to be on an absolute mission to get to the Super Bowl. But we have an article that is telling us a little tidbit that may tell us just how dedicated this team is to the Super Bowl over all other things, in an article titled "There Could Be Financial Ramifications for Chiefs wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins Resting in Week 18 versus the Broncos," from A to Z Sports, written by Nick Roche. We get the following. With the number one seed in the AFC locked up, the Kansas City Chiefs are expected to sit several starters in their Week 18 matchup against the Denver Broncos. Is a no-brainer move for the Chiefs. However, they are facing a difficult decision in regards to one specific player, wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. Logic would dictate that the veteran would get the week off in order to be fresh for the playoffs, but he's facing a significant financial ramification for not playing. As sports betting account Sal Betts pointed out on X, Hopkins needs just one more receiving touchdown to earn a $500,000 contract incentive. That might not seem like a lot of money in comparison to the actual size of an NFL player's roster, but just ask yourself, would you like an opportunity at $500,000 and all you have to do is catch one pass? Of course you would. Now, here is the big conundrum to this. The Chiefs have enough wide receivers on the roster that neither Xavier Worthy nor DeAndre Hopkins has to play in this game. Those are the two important wide receivers. I don't think there's any chance Hollywood Brown sees the field. But those are the two other receivers the Chiefs really need in the playoffs. The Chiefs do have three wide receivers, Justin Watson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Nico Remigio, who are more than capable of carrying this game, a game you don't have to win anyway. DeAndre Hopkins is probably the last of those big three, Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, DeAndre Hopkins, that I would ever want to see the field in a completely meaningless game because his age is working against him. The other guys, they're young and they're still fast. They can just run around and slide like one of the Rams receivers of yore. But there is an incentive for DeAndre Hopkins to play, so we will see how business first he is, or if he is money first. Now, the article continues with a tidbit that is easy to forget about last year's meaningless game. Last year's absolutely meaningless game in the last week of the season. The article says this: the Chiefs were faced with a similar dilemma in last year's season finale. Defensive tackle Chris Jones needed just one more sack to reach a $1.25 million bonus, and he was allowed to play. Jones recorded the sack during the third quarter and was pulled out of the game thereafter. It obviously would have been a huge blow to KC's Super Bowl chances if he were to get injured. Yeah, this was part of Chris Jones' own doing in that game because of the holdout that he went through. That stipulation for that one more sack to be $1.25 million was on the line in the very last week of the season. And I remember distinctly being nervous every defensive snap because Chris Jones was on the field into the third quarter of that football game. That could have been an absolutely devastating and boneheaded decision by Chris Jones. Now, look, I get it from Andy Reid's point of view. You don't tell the guys they can't play. Tell them, hey, we'd kind of rather you not. There was an interesting sound bite earlier. John Harbaugh was talking to Bill Belichick, and they were talking about whether you play your starters or you rest your starters, etc. And Harbaugh was saying how it was difficult to make the call, right? Difficult to go out there and tell somebody they have to play or they don't have to, or they're not going to play. How do you look the guys in the face that do have to play? And Bill Belichick made the comment, yeah, it's difficult because you're telling these guys, we don't want these guys to play, but you don't matter. I think that is tomfoolery. That is balderdash. Everyone in the NFL, A, knows they're accepting a paycheck. B, understands that is their job. C, has had the lifelong goal of playing NFL football. D, understands that they are not guaranteed next season. So any of these guys who find themselves having to play, E, they know that there's only so many spots on the roster. These are adults, Mr. Belichick. So anyone who, to go along with that last point, anyone who finds themselves on the field knows that, so pretend they're taking this hard. Pretend Ethan Driscoll, the tackle for the Kansas City Chiefs, the UDFA out of Marshall. Ethan Driscoll is insulted, feels put upon that he has to perform in this meaningless game. If he feels that way and he thinks the Chiefs do not value him, then it would serve him best to go out and perform so well that many, many, many other teams wish to sign him. Now, last season, Chris Jones did the unthinkable by playing 3/4 of an absolutely meaningless game right before the playoffs, when, by the way, they were not going to get a bye week last year. Chris Jones had to go right into the playoffs the very next week. They did not have the 1 seed. But there were 2 other instances last season where a player decided against this type of behavior. Travis Kelce did not play in the final game of the season, despite the fact that he was very, very close to crossing the 1,000-yard mark for another consecutive season, adding on to his own NFL record at that time. Neither did Rashee Rice play, despite the fact that Rashee Rice was very close to a 1,000-yard receiving season in his rookie year of the NFL. Would have been a gargantuan feather in his own hat to hit that 1,000-yard receiving mark in his rookie year, especially when you go back and look at how Rashee Rice's rookie season began. Not a whole lot of receptions early in the season. Things grew for Rashee Rice as the year progressed. We will see how business-oriented, how business-first DeAndre Hopkins is with whether or not he finds himself onto the field this Sunday. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate, what it is that I do on the channel, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other Kansas City Chiefs fans. And if you find yourself here by chance but not design, the Chiefs are the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week, and I hope to have you back for the next one.